You are now tuned in to Go Time Dolphins with Charlie Touche and Kadeem Simmons, the Miami Dolphins podcast that's for the fans and by the fans.
Gotta make them lose their mind when it's your time. And it's show time. Going all out when it's go time. I ain't wasting no time. Gotta make them lose their mind when it's show time. Cause it's your time. Lay it on the line when it's go time. Don't waste no time.
So the draft is officially in the books after 3 days and like 264 players, whatever it was. It's done. 2023 NFL draft is over. The Miami Dolphins picked up 4 players in the draft and then essentially a whole nother roster of undrafted free agents. So much Dolphins news to get to today. But before we delve into all of that, it's only right I welcome my host, Charlie Touche. How are you?
Bro, what is up with this little miniature kind of intro to the show, bro? What you got going on, bro?
Well, I feel like if I can't have the intro, I just have like my own intro, kind of like to feel like I am the co-host. Yeah, it's the off season. The Dolphins are installing new plays. I thought I'd install new intros on the podcast, see what sticks, see what works. So I've got a diverse playbook. So I'm ready for whatever situation the defense, aka our listeners, throw at me. I'm ready.
Hey, shout out to friend of the podcast, William Hayes, former Miami Dolphin, came to the podcast, chopped it up with us twice, 2 different episodes. Both episodes was everything. Happy birthday. You know what I'm saying? Got to shout you out on a happy birthday here on the podcast, bro. I hope everything's well with you. You know, you had your little, you know what I'm saying, that you recovering from. So happy birthday to William Hayes. But it is Go Time Dolphins, the Miami Dolphins podcast that goes not only across the pond, but across the world. I'm your boy, Charlie Touche. I got my co-host, Kadeem Simmons, with me. It's always for the fans and by the fans. Your favorite podcast. And I am not draped down in the Miami Dolphin gear today.
No. I had this ready for you. I was literally going to say. So do you know when you're younger, and I don't know if it's like this in the US, but like in the UK, and you get like your brand new football kit or your brand new like Batman outfit or whatever, and you're going out to a party, and your parents have got like your smart stuff all worn out. It's like, no, I want to go in my brand new football kit or my brand new Batman outfit or whatever superhero you love. If you're not watching on YouTube, Mr. Charlie Touche is decked out head to toe in his jiu-jitsu stuff. Like he's literally just finished rolling, or like there's gonna be a short episode because he's got to go roll someone up, tap him out quicker. Yeah, and I think it's not even like he's got a Dolphins hat as well. It's just today I am Charlie Two Stripes. You're gonna get it, and yeah, I'm ready. So, Charlie, what's behind the different outfit?
All right, so here's my schedule. Monday, I got jiu-jitsu at night. Tuesday, I got jiu-jitsu in the morning and at night. Wednesday, I'm off. Thursday in the morning, jiu-jitsu. Thursday night, jiu-jitsu. Friday night, jiu-jitsu. Saturday morning, jiu-jitsu. So total, I think that's 2, 4, 5. Jiu-jitsu 6 times a week, but 5 days a week, if that makes sense. Well, I guess it is. It's 6 days a week, but it's twice. There's some 2 days in there. Listen, man, I got it bad, bro. I ain't gonna lie to you. I got it bad. Like, I lay down when I go to sleep. You know how you turn over, you might flip the pillow or something. But I might roll over and just start choking out the pillow next to me. You feel me? Like just gable grip the pillow. It's bad, bro. So man, I just came back from jiu-jitsu class. Had to eat, shower, all the good stuff. And I was like, and today's a 2-a-day. So instead of putting on some Dolphin stuff to record the podcast, I'm like, you know what? Let me just get ready for class tonight. And I had to throw on some new jiu-jitsu stuff. So the other stuff is in the washing. And I just had to,
But could you not like put on a dolphin jumper or something? Like there was no need to have the skin tight Gracie Jiu Jitsu body armor.
So I got it noted. No jujitsu apparel allowed on the podcast.
No, I'm in no way saying that. I'm just saying, it's the same way I've got like a t-shirt underneath my Dolphins thing. Like
I hear you, bro. You said that, but I'm just saying, like, yo, Charlie Touche, Charlie Two Stripes. I think it goes with the podcast anyway. Matter of fact, I got
even a hat, just a Dolphins hat.
But then the hat looks out of place. Like, yo, you got a hat on with like a rash guard. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't really. But I got a black dolphin hat. I could have put it on. I ain't gonna lie. Let's get to it, man. Let's get to it, bro. UDFAs in the building. We complete the draft, and I gotta tell you, dog. You know how we were talking about. I guess we should go here anyway. Noah Igbenogany did not get his fifth year option. What's the word I'm looking for? It was declined. It was
given
declined
to him, or just declined.
His fifth year option was declined. So was friend of the podcast, Austin Jackson. His fifth year option was declined. Do you think Austin Jackson has a chance to make it back to this team next year, or do you think they're both done going into 2024? Because to make it clear, they're both under contract for 2023.
I think Jackson has more of a chance than Noah, but I think that's because Jackson could theoretically be the only right tackle, if that makes sense. Noah has about 4 or 5 players ahead of him right now, let alone what the Dolphins do, over the next few weeks. And Noah hasn't been a starter since he joined the Miami Dolphins. That's kind of like, what's happened to him since he was drafted under Brian Flores and Chris Greer. Austin Jackson, I think, is a bit different. Even the tackle they drafted in the 7th round is a left tackle, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks like the guys they brought in as undrafted free agents are all left tackles as well. It seems the plan was to make sure there's competition behind Teron Armstead, because I think everyone's like 99.9% sure he's going to miss at least one game. With Austin Jackson, that same percentage is there, but for complete different reasons. If Austin Jackson avoids an ankle injury or something, he might play 17 games. Whereas Teron Armstead, his history, since he's been drafted, has been someone who's missed multiple games. And I think the same thing with Austin Jackson, but to a different scale. So I think if Jackson can put enough solid reps on tape throughout this season, they might bring him back on like a 1, maybe 2-year deal. But I think that will be, they bring him back, but then they draft a right tackle early on. With Noah, I've seen some people say he might not even make the team this year. I know we discussed in terms of his money situation, but I guess I put it back to you. Would you be shocked if he's not on the roster come week 1?
So the previous years, it would cost us money if Noah was not. If we release Noah, it would hit our dead cap, and we didn't save anything really. Now it's minimal if we cut Noah. If we move on from Noah post June 1st, I think it's like $1 million dead cap. But if we trade him, then we save $2 million. There's no dead cap. So we're not talking about a lot of money anymore. And now it's genuinely, best player makes the team. Noah didn't get cut in previous years because it would cost us money to cut Noah before. Now it does. Now it only costs like $1 million if we moved on from Noah, maybe a little more, like 1.8, I think 1.6, and then it swings if we can trade him to saving like $2 million. The thing is, I think he's grits. I think he's done. Unfortunately, it didn't pan out. He's a bust. This is what a bust is, right? You gotta call a spade a spade. You gotta call a bust a bust. Why do they say that? You gotta call a spade a spade. You ready? Fact check, stat check. Call a spade a spade. Why do they say you gotta call a spade a spade? Does anybody know?
Cool. Do you know what? You say that, But there's no one in the live. Like already, I missed the live because someone in the live like, hey, it's And again, shout out to everyone who came across the lives over the past few days. It was absolutely amazing. It looks like this doesn't sound like it's gonna be. Yeah, Google's just telling me a whole bunch
Call
of
a
nonsense.
spade origin. Gotta call a spade.
It refers to something, calling something as it is. The idiom originates in the classical Greek of Plutarch's, and I cannot pronounce this thing. I was introduced into English language in 1542 in Nicholas Uda's translation of Greek word. A lot of Greek words. It seems it's a Greek thing.
Hey, bro, ain't we going to Greece?
We are. No. Cyprus.
Isn't Cyprus a part of Greece?
Listen, I know the difference between going to Greece and going to Cyprus. That's all I know. And I know I'm going to Cyprus, not Greece.
All right. So, friend of the podcast, Austin Jackson, on the other hand, I think it's completely different. I think this is the right move for Austin Jackson because we don't want to tie you into a 5th year and we not know what we're getting. Unfortunately, Chris Greer and Mike McDrip was like, yo, Austin Jackson looks like a stud. And then he got hurt twice in the same season. So they're like, it's unfortunate, but we believe in Austin Jackson and Liam Eichenberg. And the proof is in the pudding. They believe in Liam Eichenberg and Austin Jackson so much that they did not add any O-line help, significant O-line help. They're like, nah, bro, we're not worried. Verbatim, we're not worried about the same thing some of the other people are worried about. Like, that tells you they're happy with Austin Jackson as is. Now, when it comes to a contract, on the other hand, they're not happy enough to extend him to a multiple year contract. So this is what's going to happen. Similar to Tua, what's going to happen is Austin Jackson is going to play this year out. And what we would hope happens is Austin Jackson does excel and has a Pro Bowl year, all pro right tackle year. And Coach McDaniel and Chris Greer says, I told you so. And you know why that could be a possibility, Kadeem? Remember when Brian Flores was here and we were like, yo, they ran through 8 O-line coaches, 5 OCs. We don't know what we're getting, basically. And then we were like, well, maybe a new offensive coaching staff can coach up the O-line. So we never got to see Austin Jackson with the new coaching, right? But we do know this O-line improved from 32 to 20th. But we haven't seen Austin Jackson with the O-line. You making a face like I'm misspeaking.
Well, not so much that you misspeaking, but we did see like there was a new offensive staff and coaching staff last year.
No, yeah, but Austin Jackson got hurt last year.
But I'm saying in terms of like we saw some of him, if that makes sense. We didn't see
right.
I'm
not saying we didn't see it at all. We didn't see enough of Austin Jackson with the new coach, with the improvement. Because basically what everyone was saying was in the Dolphins brass, yo, Austin Jackson, y'all wait till y'all see Austin Jackson this year. And then we didn't see him last year. We didn't see enough of him last year. So they know what they see all the time in practice. Coach McDaniel doubled down, bro. Said, nah, I need weapons for Tua. I can fix the O-line. O-line improves from 32nd to 20th, and he still doesn't go get O-line in his second offseason. Still doesn't go get more O-line. So there has to be something there. You know what I'm saying? I have to trust it. That being said, if Austin Jackson performs this year, then now you have a little conundrum. How well did Austin Jackson perform? If he performs mediocre, okay, well, maybe he takes a mediocre deal. You know what I'm saying? Well, yo, you play pretty good, but here goes this deal that we have for you. If he doesn't play well, then we let him walk, right? And if he overperforms and he's a Pro Bowler, then now you have to think, maybe I tag him, franchise tag for a year. Let's see if he could repeat this performance, or you give him a contract. That's what Saquon Barkley's doing. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, Saquon, you always hurt. And then he has a monster year and a contract year. And then now they're on the hook for what do we do with Saquon Barkley? So I would absolutely love, excuse me, friend of the podcast, Austin Jackson, to have the year of his career and blow everybody out the water, because that means we're probably in the Super Bowl. You see what I'm saying? And then we can have that conversation. What do we do with his contract now? As of right now, we don't know what we're going to get from Austin Jackson, but I gotta imagine the coaches believe he's going to perform. So we'll see what we get. But we had to make a decision, and the decision was to not exercise his 5th-year option.
Yeah, I think also with Austin Jackson, I don't think they would tag him. I do think they will say, you know what, you played well enough that we're going to give you another shot. But again, here's like you said, a mediocre deal, 2-3 years. So they've got him again. It's essentially a Chris Greer masterclass contract. We've got you for 2 years, essentially 1 year. And if it doesn't work out or you get injured, then we can move on. That agreed in terms of Austin Jackson needs to have an amazing year, because this Dolphins offensive line needs to have an amazing year if the Dolphins are going to have a legitimate opportunity to reach the Super Bowl and more. And if anyone on that line needs to be playing at a Pro Bowl level, it has to be the guy protecting Tua's blindside. However, as we pointed out, anyone who says that Austin Jackson has been the cause of any of Tua's issues, that's just an outright lie. So I'm not saying Austin Jackson needs to play amazing to stop Tua from getting hurt. Yes, there's a fact to that, but to kind of reiterate, Austin Jackson isn't the reason Tua has been hurt. If that makes sense.
How about this though, Kadeem? If he plays mediocre and you said, well, we give him a mediocre contract and then with a middle of the road contract, who says Austin Jackson takes it? You know what I'm saying? Austin Jackson be like, yo, I'm actually better. You know what I'm saying? And I want to get paid like I'm better. And then they Dolphins say, well, no, we're not going to pay you like you're better. You could test the market. And then he tests the market. Then we lose him. Then we need a right tackle. Or they just tag him again. You know what I'm saying? So best case scenario, he performs. Everyone's happy. We have a right tackle. And everyone's surprised. And if that's the case, we're in the Super Bowl. We're in the AFC Championship.
I think to use 2 examples of guys one guy who left this offseason, one guy who left and came back. Personally, I believe Van Ginkel and Gesicki have better tape in Miami than Austin Jackson. Van Ginkel decided to come back. Gesicki decided to go elsewhere. No disrespect to Austin Jackson. I think if he did try to test free agency, I think a lot of teams will probably offer him something similar to what the Dolphins in this mediocre contract scenario. I don't think Austin Jackson has played well enough or been healthy enough to go out there. Obviously, he can go out there and test free agency. Mm-hmm. I can't imagine he gets paid like a starting tackle. And I think some teams might look at him and say, where is your best position? Is it left tackle? Is it right tackle? He's played both in Miami. And again, it's a matter of, what do teams see on the tape, which makes them believe he is worthy of a starting caliber contract, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, we just have to wait and see what this year looks like. But what's funny, Kadeem? Before we talk about our UDFAs here in Miami, the undrafted free agents, how about this? The Minnesota Vikings drafted Mekhi Blackmon, cornerback from USC, I believe, in the 3rd round. And he was projected anywhere from 3rd round to 6th round. A lot of people had him being a day 3 pick, late round pick, and Minnesota actually traded up to go get him. Corner. Do you know who the Minnesota Vikings defense coordinator is?
Brian Flores.
But how about it? What kind of conversation is this going to be if Mekhi Blackmon ends up, and I would not wish bust on anybody, if the Minnesota Vikings traded up for Mekhi Blackmon and he ends up being a bust as well, there's going to be like, you know what? We figured it out. If it looks like a duck and walks like a duck, you know what I'm saying? We figured it out. So there's something interesting to hold on to for Dolphin fans to follow along in Minnesota. Like, let's see what happens here. Somebody might not know how to draft corners, but go ahead.
I was going to say, I think, to give Noah some credit or some defense, he was a converted corner from wide receiver.
Nah, bro.
And
You played corner in college.
oh yeah, but it's not like he was a corner from time he was playing Pee Wee football. If you play corner in Pee Wee
Nah,
football,
bro, I can't give you that, bro. Nah, you play corner in the SEC, the highest level of college football, bro.
and no one saw him as a first round pick. Like
that's fair. He was he was still projected in like a third round, but
yeah.
All right, that's here no there. That's here no there. UDFAs, bro. What you got?
So I think, as expected, I think we said on our live stream, the Dolphins with 4 picks and the roster they had needed to add something like 20 players in terms of undrafted free agents. Just to kind of, if they were to kind of go to reach the league minimum that way, or obviously bring in some veterans like a Cam Fleming or a DJ Fluke or stuff like that. So we have a list of the UDFAs the Dolphins have brought in, and I think since then they've added to this as well. But in terms of the guys we know they have brought in, 100%. Aubrey Miller, linebacker, Jackson State. James Blackman, quarterback, Arkansas State. Alama Ulu Ave, I believe that's how you pronounce his name, according to what the internet says. Center, San Diego State. Jarrett Horst, outside tackle, Michigan State. Bennett Williams, safety, Oregon. I want to talk about him briefly. Randy Charlton, defensive line, Mississippi State. Chris Brooks, running back, BYU. David Davis, wide receiver, Western Kentucky. Ezekiel Vandenberg, linebacker, Illinois State. Julian Hill, tight end, Campbell. Brandon, I believe it's Pili or Pili, defensive tackle, USC. Ethan Bonner, cornerback, Stanford. Garrett Nelson, linebacker, Nebraska. Mitchell Agude or Jude, apologies for that, defensive end, Miami. Alex Jensen, outside tackle, South Dakota. Chris Coleman, wide receiver, Kyle Poly. DJ Skyfae, again, apologies, offensive line, Miami. Michael Turk, punter, Oklahoma. And Anthony Montalvo, defensive tackle, UCF. What do you make of, or what stands out to you of the list of names I just read out to you?
I'm be real, Kadeem. The person that I am, with the lack of life that I have, being single and going to jiu-jitsu 2 times a day and watching film on football players that I have no relationship with. But when I seen us pick up Chris Brooks, running back from BYU, I'm like, yo, we don't have one of these. You know what I'm saying? Like you know how there's, this is a different type of corner. This is a man corner. This is a zone corner. Oh, this is a strong safety. This is a free safety. This is a scat back. This is a power back. Bro, Chris Brooks is like, I want to say 6'2", 230. Bro, this man is the closest thing to Derrick Henry that we've ever had in Miami. Now, I'm not saying he's Derrick Henry, and I'm not saying he makes the team, but I am interested to see what Chris Brooks looks like for the Miami Dolphins in preseason. I cannot wait to see if dude gets some like real snaps in preseason.
Yeah, I think the Dolphins have, I don't say their running backs aren't always similar type, but they're similar enough. But like you said, there's no real change of pace, change of power, change of anything. I think for that reason alone, Chris Brooks, for the reasons you mentioned, stands out as someone who, at the bare minimum, should make the practice squad in case he's needed for a particular game or something like that. Bennett Williams, the safety, kind of would make it 3 years in a row. The Dolphins have picked up someone from Oregon, a defensive back. Obviously, Fender Poshkar, Javon Holland going into his 3rd year. Verone McKinley going into his 2nd year. And now Bennett Williams. And I think there's something about recent Oregon DBs in Miami who have kind of stuck around and played well. So I wasn't surprised they brought in a DB from Oregon. Yeah, that it seems Chris Greer and the Dolphins seem to have, okay, if you're a DB and you play from Oregon, there might be something about you. Also, shout out to friend of the podcast, Javon Holland, for coaching in, I believe, like was an Oregon spring game.
Yeah, he was a coach of the Oregon. Basically, it's spring game. We call it an aqua and orange game, probably, or aqua and white. So whatever the school colors are, it's usually black and white or offense, defense, or well, maybe it's not offense, defense, but yeah, it's a spring game. Bro, I'm on the record saying this is the last year that we would have this running back room together, and I'm not gonna lie to you. That if Dalvin Cook gets cut, that might be over with. This might be the new year of the new running back room. Now, shout out to friend of the podcast, 40 Acres and a Hellcat. We rock with you heavy here. He's the voice of the locker room. The same way we were chopping it up with William Hayes, and I'm sure a lot of us did not know. I actually kind of knew at the time, because I had behind the scenes. But a lot of the average Dolphin fan didn't know William Hayes was like a captain of the team when he was on the team. Like how you get traded for a 7th-round pick, come to this team, and then you're one of the main captains in the locker room. And that's what experience does to you. That's what being a vet does, and leadership does. So when Myles Gaskin isn't dressed and he's still the captain and a leader and a voice of the locker room, it means something. So I am under the impression, and I ain't gonna lie to you, if Myles Gaskin gets cut from the team, not only should you expect him to come back on the practice squad, don't be surprised if Dawg has a headset on, like as a coach, like for the Dolphins, if he doesn't get picked up by anyone else. Like he's just that in tune with this locker room, and they love him like that. Now, is he one of the better running backs on the team? Probably not. But I tell you this, I am intrigued by what Chris Brooks has to bring to the table. And, Mike McDaniel has a way of bringing in undrafted free agents. Savon Ahmed was an undrafted free agent. There's somebody else that was undrafted. Then you had Dr. White. Dr. White didn't make the team. But, yeah, I'm anxious to see with Devon Achane being 5'8", 185, 5'8.5". I'm 5'9 3/4. I always say I need my 3/4, so I got to give him his half. 5'8.5", 185 pounds. That's Devon Achane. And then you have Mostert and Jeff Wilson Jr. I believe front of the podcast, Myles Gaskin and Savon Ahmed are on the bubble. Now, here's the difference, Kadeem. Last year, we had 5 tight ends on the 53-man roster. We and I was like, yo, how do you just 5 tight ends and only have 5 receivers? Usually, a team would have 5 receivers, or I'm sorry, 6 receivers and 4 running backs. But last year we had more tight ends than we had receivers, or as many tight ends as we had receivers, and then we only had 3 tailbacks. But the 4th running back was our fullback. So now I really, really, really wonder what happens with this year's Dolphins roster. Do we dress 4 running backs? Is it a Jeff Wilson Jr., Raheem Mostert, Devon Achane, Chris Brooks, or Ahmed Gaskin, Dalvin Cook? You know what I'm saying? Like Dalvin Cook, Devon Achane, Raheem Mostert, and Jeff Wilson Jr. That's more of a traditional running back room, 4 running backs. But Cook's not here yet, so we'll leave him out of the picture. And then the wide receiver room. I'm so anxious. Yeah, already.
Is that genuine?
Very good, Junior Grasshopper. So I'm anxious to see what the wide receiver room looks like, because now I am of the belief that Devon Achane is going to be the kick return specialist, not Braxton Berrios. I believe Devon Achane is going to get all the special team reps, and Braxton Berrios will be his backup. So what does that mean for the receiving room? You have Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Craycraft for 100, and Craycraft for 100 is the starting slot because of his blocking. Or do you switch it up and have a true slot in Braxton Berrios running your Wes Welker, Julian Edelman type routes, Danny Amendola type slot, right? But then you have Chosen Anderson. That's 4. You have Cedric Wilson that he's still on the team. That's 5. That might be 6. I might have said, all right, so you Waddle, Hill, Chosen Anderson, Braxton Berrios, and Cedric Wilson Jr. And then you have Eric Ezukanma, who's hanging around. So that's 6. I'm anxious, bro. I cannot wait. Like, yo, competition. I love competition, and let the best man win.
There's no... Imagine the Dolphins come out in their personnel. They've got Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, and Chosen Anderson lining up a wide receiver. They then got Devon A-Chain and Raheem Mostert, in the backfield. No fullbacks, no tight end on the field. You know how much Mike McDaniel and Tua love empty backfield. So you've got those 3 wide receivers, and then you see Tua motion out Raheem Mostert.
Yeah.
And then motions out Devon A-Chain and says to any team, I dare you to try and stop these 5 guys. Even if you try and, press them at the line of scrimmage, one gets behind you and they're gone. Because again, we said how the Dolphins have a track team in the 4 guys in Waddle, Hill, Mostert, and A-Chain. There's so much that they can do with, speed that, it's going to be like, again, you can't stop it, in the nicest way possible. So, yeah, it definitely will be interesting. Back to Myles Gaskin very quickly. If he does get cut, or before he gets cut, if he doesn't make the roster, can you envisage him in Minnesota with? And again, Brian Flores doesn't have that kind of sway to bring in a running back per se, but
I think he does. But
I think, like I said, he's a leader, and I think given what Brian Flores has said about Myles Gaskin, I can imagine him saying, listen, obviously we got rid of Cook, we've got some running backs, but Gaskin, you add Gaskin to this locker room, and he's a difference maker in that at the very least. I think Gaskin is someone who, would they try to, and I think they can put him on the practice squad. I'm not quite sure, but I think if they try to, I think another team will pick him up just to say, listen, we've seen what you can do, but if anything, we've heard amazing things about you in the locker room, and there's someone we want in the building, and then he'll earn himself a chance to get meaningful snaps as the season goes on, at the very least, no matter where he goes.
Yeah, there's something about leadership that is priceless. And when I say priceless, that means if you have to pay a practice squad ticket on it, you're going to pay it. We paid Myles Gaskin $2 million last year, $2.5 million to be a leader. It's priceless, and that's where leadership. You get your leadership however you can. Outside of O-line, what did you want to see addressed? I ain't gonna lie. We still drafted Ryan Hayes. I don't think Ryan Hayes is going to be a tackle, although he started tackle last year in Michigan, and he might have been a 3-year tackle in Michigan. I'm not sure.
I think he was. Yeah,
he was a 3-year tackle in Michigan, but I have concerns about his arm length, his range. I think he's just gonna convert right away into being a guard. Outside of O-line, where did you feel like, you know what, I would have liked to see something here?
I think just quickly on Ryan Hayes. It's Hayes or Harris? It's Hayes, isn't it? Yeah, I think
it's Hayes.
Yeah, I think no matter what offensive lineman comes in, they're being played in multiple positions. There's no, like, the Dolphins have done this over the past few years. You're an offensive lineman, you come in, you learn every position just in case. So I would not be surprised if Hayes has a snaps at center, a snaps at left guard and right guard, just to see if actually you play a lot better in this position. And actually, if you do make the roster, we can essentially see where you play at different parts of the line, so that if we dress 6 offensive linemen and you're one of them, and center goes down, we know we can plug you in, and to the level you play. In terms of position, I think it has to be tight end. I think so many people expected the Dolphins, or not so much expected, but hoped the Dolphins would go tight end and offensive line with their first 2 picks. They waited until the 6th round and then drafted a wide receiver converting to tight end, which is something that the Dolphins have done the past few years. But I think I expected / hope the Dolphins to have attack tight end a lot earlier, especially with the tight ends that were on the board at certain picks. But then I also think, and we said it on the live as well, I personally believe that tight end one at the start of the second threw their whole plans out the window. They kind of said with both Cam Smith and Devon A-Chain that those are the guys they wanted. They didn't think A-Chain would be there and stuff like that. I've just got this sneaky feeling that had the Titan they really wanted, and Brenton Strange was there in the second, but had the Titan really been there, they would have taken the Titans tight end in the second round, and then I'm confident they would have taken A-Chain regardless, and stuff like that. And also very quickly, we say this a lot, we do need to get the Same Old Dolphins on this show because
what up, Same Old Dolphins? Holla at us.
Aaron Kaska has some interesting opinions on the draft, and it's one thing seeing the Go Time Dolphins social media team having a back and forth, or not a back and forth, but a conversation with him on Twitter. But you get us on this platform, and it's always going to be amazing. So if you're listening, guys, you are. Shout us a line. We'll get you on there as soon as possible to talk draft and I don't know, wrestling. As it is.
Yo, I think because Shoemaker was there too. And Shoemaker went to Dallas, and he's going to be a Hall of Famer now. 100%. And Charlie Touche is going to be like, yo, I told you. You know what I'm saying? So with Shoemaker and Strange being available, I do think, I just wish I could be an octopus on the room of that wall. You know how they say a fly on the wall?
But you're an octopus guy, so...
Yeah, because there's an octopus on my wall. So I wish I could be on their wall. But and just listening to what the conversation is, because Mike McDaniel had to pick the running back.
Oh, 100%.
You know what I'm saying? This was not a Chris Greer pick. He had to say, nope, this is the running back I want. As a matter of fact, they alluded to it in the press conference, the post-draft press conference. McDaniel said, I seen some A-Chain film, and a couple weeks back, I liked him a lot. And then for the past few weeks, I kept watching more, and I ended up falling in love with him. So this is absolutely a McDaniel pick. And that tells us that McDaniel being the OC and the HC tells us how he felt about the tight ends in this draft and A-Chain. Meaning Devon A-Chain is more important than the tight ends that we can get in the third round. Even if a Shoemaker was passed up or a Strange was passed up. Devon A-Chain is more important to what I want to do and where I want to go with this offense than a tight end. And again, it's our speculation that he wanted a George Kittle. He wanted a tight end, an inline tight end. But in all honesty, who was the inline tight end in Atlanta when they were in Atlanta? You know what I'm saying? Who was the inline tight end in Cleveland? Who was the inline tight end in Washington when Shanahan and McDaniel were at those teams? So this could just be there's only one George Kittle. That's what this could be. I don't absolutely need an inline tight end, but I absolutely need running backs.
I think the interesting question, and we will never know until we get Mike McDaniel and Chris Greer on this show. If Brenton Strange and Devon A-Chain were both there, because Strange went before the Dolphins picked for a second time. If Brenton Strange and Devon A-Chain were both on the board at pick 84, what would it have been? And also, maybe I've read it wrong, but didn't McDaniel said he loved A-Chain for the past 2 years, and maybe I kind of read it wrong, but I also believe he said it was a really bad secret that he kept the secret really well, to the point where he was talking to himself in the car
because he had to tell somebody.
Yeah, I'm going to tell myself. I'm going to tell myself. So yeah, same way when the Dolphins took Raekwon Davis, you saw Brian Flores yes, I've got my guy. This is clearly McDaniel's guy, but I would have loved to have seen that conversation between him and Chris Greer. And it's I feel like Brenton Strange was his tight end and Devon A-Chain was his running back. So it's what do we do here? And the whole problem could have been solved if the Dolphins had a first round pick, because maybe in the first round they go tight end, or they go like
You could
corner.
trade. You could trade back and get an extra pick.
Yeah, but no. Oh, shit. We're gonna mention it every single episode. We will find a way to mention the fact.
I was only gonna mention it up every episode up to the draft, but if you want to mention it every episode after that, it is what it is. So we're on the topic of tight end. How do you feel about Elijah Higgins?
On paper and what he says, great. You sound like this is gonna work. I've seen some people on social media kind of say, you know, his production in Stanford wasn't amazing, but Stanford's offense kind of stunk over the past few years. Listen, it's you said it yourself. You know, there's only one George Kittle. You really can't go and find a George Kittle in the draft. It's important to find a tight end who wants to be a willing blocker, and it sounds like Higgins, at the very least, you know, wants to try his best to block and stuff like that. I do think they tried with Tanner Connor, who picked up an injury. And there's a few other tight ends who they tried to convert from, you know, wide receiver and stuff like that. In an ideal world, you just go and find a tight end who's a traditional tight end and stuff like that. But I also think, again, it's speed. If you've got a tight end who can attack all three levels of the field and at least engages in blocks if he's one blocking, then that might just be what the Dolphins, I don't want to say settle for, but the Dolphins essentially get from the tight ends of the next few years. Unless George Kittle today says he wants to reunite with Mike McDaniel, or, you know, a George Kittle remake is in the draft next year and they take him. But at this point, I'm resigned to the fact that the Dolphins are probably going to have a tight end who's a receiver first and blocker maybe fourth or fifth, as opposed to a receiver and a blocker. Which, to be fair, most teams don't have a one tight end who can do both.
I ain't gonna lie, I had to look up this George Kittle contract real quick. Give me a second. let me see what this thing talking about, bro. Like, what's going on here?
I think as you look, it's no surprise to see the Dolphins bring in a tight end in Julian Hill undrafted free agency. Again, it might be something which they kind of brought him in because, in terms of guys already on the roster, it's what Durham Smythe, Tanner Connor, and I believe Stephen Carter, if he's still there. So, going into the off season, 5's better than 3. You kind of see what you can get from Julian Hill. Maybe he pans out, maybe he doesn't, but you have nothing to lose by bringing him in at the very least.
Yeah, George Kittle ain't going nowhere. He's locked in. San Fran.
Yeah, of course.
Nah, man. Bro, I'm ready. I'm happy that Aaron Rodgers came into the AFC East to give us better betting odds because people aren't going to believe in Tua. I love it. I think the Dolphins win the division this year. I think we're going to the Super Bowl. But I guarantee we'll go. I guarantee we will win the Super Bowl within these next 2 seasons. 100% guaranteed, bro. I will bet the house. And if we lose, I'm coming to the UK. I hope you got a couch for me, bro. Like, straight up.
There's a few spare rooms lying about.
I like it, bro. I bet the house, bro.
Yeah. Also, there's three linebackers, and also two defensive linemen. Three defensive linemen. One's the 2 defensive tackles. Right, I'll get this right. Start again. 3 linebackers, 4 defensive linemen, 2 ends, 2 tackle or defensive tackles. Again, Vic Fangio, new system. We had Jerome Baker speak on Tuesday about first few weeks working with Vic Fangio, and he said a lot more freedom, but also Vic Fangio's kind of like straight to the point. Kind of doesn't mess around too much and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So I'm not surprised to see the Dolphins try and add more to the linebacker room. And Aubrey Miller looks like the kind of player you would build on Madden if you were building a linebacker yourself.
He looks like he done it.
The dude is jacked. He looks like the kind of guy who you don't want. Like, imagine you're a running back and you somehow get through, your offensive line. The last thing you want to see is Aubrey Miller running at you. Put it this way: it's one thing to have a Landon Roberts coming downhill to hit you in the backfield, and he hit you hard. I ain't trying to see if I'm a running back. If Aubrey Miller hits me, like in the Waterboy, when the guy's just out on the floor, it's like, yeah, I'm not getting up. Aubrey Miller is jacked.
Yo. So I was just looking at Raekwon Davis. Raekwon Davis is over with. So this is last year, it's contract year. We're not going to re-sign him. We're not going to extend him. I wonder if he's a trade piece before week 8. You know what I'm saying? Like
Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah, hey, what's up, Flo? Take all your boys with you. You know what I'm saying? Like take them all. Like, you know what I'm saying? But I wonder if they move Raekwon, try to acquire some type of draft capital, even if it's a 2025 pick. You got Raekwon Davis, you have Nick Needham, although you paid him $2.5 million this year. It's a lot of pieces that might not be on the Miami Dolphins this year because of contracts, and that's something you have to manage simultaneously as trying to attain a Super Bowl. Like, what's the contracts look like for the next 4 years? Because you got to pay Jalen Waddle, you got to pay friend of the podcast Javon Holland, you got same thing with friend of the podcast Brandon Jones. His contract's up this year. What happens with Brandon Jones? So it's a lot of people you got to pay. How do you juggle? Can you juggle, Kadeem?
I can't, no.
Yeah, I could barely juggle, but I like that Gracie Jiu-Jitsu rash guard. I like that. But you got something before we go, Kadeem, since you ain't even let me do the outro last episode?
Apologies. Like, it's been a 6.5 hour stream. I just wanted to get some food. But listen, I think I've seen a few reports that the Dolphins aren't expected to get any comp picks, even though they lost Mike Gesicki, given, what they brought in and what Mike Gesicki went out and got. So, and I think the date in terms of bringing in, vet free agents and then not counting against your comp picks has now passed. So I will not be surprised if the Dolphins bring back a Cam Fleming, other vets to genuinely compete on this roster. Again, the rookies, be it drafted or undrafted tackles, seem like the left tackles. So I would fully expect there to be competition at right tackle, unless that competition is going to be from, I guess, Liam Eichenberg and then move on Hayes side. But Cam Fleming, DJ Fluker, if he passes certain stuff, and trying to get myself suited over here. And yeah, I expect to see veterans and maybe even like a Dalvin Cook very, very quickly. Maybe Cedric Wilson does make the roster, but he also could be a kind of piece, and we'll discuss it later, but a kind of piece where it's, preseason's officially underway and touch wood, unfortunately, it happens. A team's wide receiver 1 or 2 goes down, they need someone, they call the Dolphins and say, hey, listen, we need Cedric Wilson, which could be why they didn't move him in the draft. They didn't get the right compensation.
For sure.
But, come... essentially a 5th round pick this year, as in the draft just going, as opposed to a 3rd round pick next year, depending on what you can get, essentially. So, yeah.
Or even a 4th round pick next year. Same. Yeah. Like, I really do miss the same old Dolphin guys. What's up, man? Y'all holler at us, bro. Can we get you back on the podcast? Like, I feel like, you know what I feel like, same old Dolphins? I feel like they're cousins that we don't see often enough. Like, what's up, cuz? You know what I'm saying? Like, we don't even get to chill enough, bro. That's how I feel about same old Dolphins, bro. We need to have them back on. And I get to do the outro this time. You know what I'm saying? Like, Josh ain't here to do the outro. You know what I'm saying? Kadeem ain't messing it up. But look, before we do the outro, it's Mental Health Awareness Month. One of my favorite months of the year. We're going to have a CTE awareness episode coming up sometime this month. Not sure when. We got the quarterback ranking episode coming up this month. Not sure when. We got a lot of draft recap with some of the draft guys we brought on. I'm excited, bro. But Mental Health Awareness Month, y'all need to talk to somebody. Talk to somebody. You know, there's a stigma around guys can't talk about stuff, and holding stuff in isn't the way to go. You know, depression is a real thing, and yeah, tell a friend to tell a friend, like, yo, don't suffer in silence. But y'all know what time it is. Stay positive, test negative. For Kadeem Simmons, I'm Charlie Touche. Thank you for tuning in this time. Make sure you catch us next time on Go Time. Already.
Gotta make them lose their mind when it's your time. And it's show time. Going all out when it's go time. I ain't wasting no time. Gotta make them lose their mind when it's show time. Cause it's your time. Lay it on the line when it's go time. Don't waste no time. Gotta make them lose their mind when it's your time. And it's show time. Going all out when it's go time. I ain't wasting no time.
What did you make of Raheem Mostert's comments on Tuesday when speaking to media, if you've seen and heard them?
Say that again?
What did you make of what Raheem Mostert said?
I didn't see it. What did he say?
He said McDaniel apologized for not running the ball that much. I think Tampa Bay were the only team in the league who ran the ball less than Miami. So he said, yeah, McDaniel apologized for not running the ball more, but he also said McDaniel is like ready to go. I think he said something along the lines of he got his feet wet and he's itching to go. So expect to see, you know, a lot more from this Dolphins offense. Sounds like we're going to run the ball a lot more. But, you know, and this isn't a bad thing. It's easy to say you're going to run the ball a lot more, but when you got Waddle and Hill, it's so easy to just let Tua let it rip essentially. So
something tells me that was the clean version. Coach McDaniel got his feet wet. Like, something tells me that he didn't. That's not really what he said. You know what I'm saying? But I will say this. I told you what it was. McDaniel was just geeked up on like having a quarterback. Like, yo, I didn't know I had this at my disposal. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I do think, you know, sitting back is like, yeah, I could have ran the ball more. Now you see a Chris Brooks is here, somebody in built like Chris Brooks. Like, if he makes the team, you can see those 3rd and 1s, 4th and 1s going a little bit different now, instead of having someone undersized or struggling with these short yardage situations and turning them into 3rd and 4th and runs, and you got to throw it. You know, listen, I'm ready for this year. Coach McDaniel's ready. He's not. He. Everyone knows we have a quarterback now, and if you don't, that's on you. I apologize. But everyone in the Dolphins building knows we have a quarterback. And I think that's what McDaniel was sold on. Like, yo, I'm going to have 2,000-yard receivers and an MVP quarterback, and everyone's going to be proven right in my first year. It didn't go like that. And it is what it is. But we'll get there. You know what I'm saying? We don't need the 2,000-yard receivers, and we don't need an MVP quarterback. We just need a ring. So if that means running the ball 28 times and passing the ball 32 times, let's do it.
100%. Yeah, he, as essentially per Mostert, he said McDaniel said he was going to get his best to change. He was going to do his best to change that for the upcoming year in terms of, you know, not running the ball. When he talks like that, it just gets me fired up. And he also said the offensive line started hitting their stride towards the end of the year. So he said expect a different dynamic from this offense and expect surprises from what McDaniel has been cooking in this offseason. And you have McDaniel cooking up, you know, surprises in this offense, and then Vic Fangio cooking up what he's going to do with his defense. And people saying, you know, and outsiders saying, the Dolphins are a playoff team and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, cool. Keep saying that. Just keep saying that.
We're going to have a power ranking episode too. We'll throw all of that in there. Well, because we got the schedule release coming up. We got quarterback ranking episode. Probably gonna have a power ranking episode, mental health awareness, CTE awareness episode, and then we got draft recap. Can't wait. It's no off season. There's football season, and there's waiting for football season.